Chelsea, no clowning around in the NBA. We got free agents going everywhere. Free agency is open, and man, has it hit in a big way because Paul George is going to the Philadelphia 76ers. 4 years, $212 million, pairing with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey in the East. He's 34, nine-time All-Star, averaged 22.6 points, 5.2 rebounds a game last year. So he leaves the Clippers behind. The experiment with Kawhi Leonard did not work. Sixers 8-1 now to win the NBA title behind the Celtics and the Nuggets. Celtics at 3-1, Nuggets plus 750. And I have to say, I like the Sun. How can you not enjoy adding playoff P to the roster? Now the Sixers, just like the Knicks, trying to compete with Boston.
Well, the Sixers are a big market franchise, and they had to do something because the East right now looks like it's all Celtics, and we have the Knicks making big moves as well. So if you want to stay relevant in the East, you got to sign these big-time players. So Paul George is certainly somebody who can make an instant impact to that roster. I still think the question mark for the Sixers is, do they have enough depth? Because I think that's something that the NBA postseason showed us this year, because the Celtics aren't just one or two guys. Hell, they're not even three guys. It is a full roster of 6 or 7 guys who can go out there, get you minutes, and keep a lead established. Like, think about their roster. Like, think about the fact that Drew Holiday, somebody who is a perennial all-star, one of the best defenders in the NBA, isn't even one of their top 2 guys. So I think this is a good move. It is a good start for Philly, but I do think they need to add some other pieces if they want to take a title in the East from the Celtics.
Yeah, I agree. They had to do something because the Celtics are not going anywhere. That's the scary thing about the Celtics, too. A, they're a great team, like you mentioned, but B, they're young enough where, I'm not going to say dynasty, but man, they can be good and will be good for a long, long time. Consolation prize for the Clips. They have re-signed James Harden, 2 years, $70 million, turns 35 in August. You're like, thanks a lot, James. Appreciate that. Averaged more than 16 points and 8 assists in 72 games last year. To give him a little bit of credit, he hasn't been a great, efficient player on offense in a long time, but last year he played more off-ball and was more effective in that way, particularly on catch-and-shoot threes. Averaged more than 21 points in that first-round loss to the Mavericks. Clippers 14-1 to win the West, 25-1 to win the NBA title. So you have a star going into your new arena, I guess.
If you're a Clippers fan, you can't be feeling good right now, because what did the Clippers give up for Paul George? Oh, how about 7 first-round draft picks and also a blossoming star who is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who now resides in Oklahoma City. So it feels like they gave a lot up for Paul George, and now they have nothing to show for it. But that's the name of the game in the NBA. It's high risk, high reward. You got to do something to land these superstars. So I don't fault them for doing it. But now you have James Harden who's standing around saying, okay, great. Well, guess we're not ring chasing this year. But the consolation prize for James Harden is that he still gets to play in his hometown. So I think he's really happy playing in LA. So maybe there's that. And also the boatload of money that he is still making.
Yes, $35 million a year. That will help. You mentioned ring chasing. Doesn't look like CP3 is going to get his. He was open, had a chance with the Spurs, or Suns, I should say. They went to the Warriors last year, came off the bench the majority of the time. Now he has signed a 1-year, $11 million deal with the Spurs, according to Woj. So Paul was waived by the Warriors because he was due $30 million. This was essentially a cost-cutting move. But I will say, if you want to spin this in a positive direction, this is great for the Spurs, right? They get to continue building a winner around Wemby, and whenever you have a great player like this with so much experience, it can't help but be a benefit to your squad.
Oh, yeah, this is a huge boon for the Spurs as a team. Not only do they get a veteran presence, but somebody who is very good at facilitating the offense. Because remember, Chris Paul is a point guard. So he can establish the offense for a very young team. Maybe it doesn't move the needle for Chris Paul. I don't think he's going to be winning a championship with the Spurs anytime soon. But when you have a young team, a veteran presence, especially at point guard, we've seen what Mike Conley has done for the Timberwolves. I think it's a big deal for the Spurs. Maybe this is like Chris Paul's version of like paying it forward, returning his dues to the game, teaching the next generation, and maybe putting his thumbprint on somebody who may be the next generational superstar in Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, he's certainly going to be. So that'll be fun to watch. And Paul about to make history as well. When he plays this season, he will become the 11th player in NBA history to play 20 seasons in the association. How about the Warriors? We were talking about them letting go of CP3. It's very, very likely now that they are breaking up the Splash Brothers. Klay Thompson probably going to hit the market. If you've been following the story over the past few months, it's pretty clear that communication on both sides has not been ideal. In fact, The Athletic reports that neither side has really been talking over the past 2 weeks. Warriors want to trade Andrew Wiggins. They got rid of CP3's contract. And Steve Kerr says, quote, I want him back desperately. Of course he does. But Klay Thompson wants to get paid. Still a very good player, but definitely not the player that we used to see. And this feels like the end of an era for Golden State.
It certainly does. And no matter where Klay Thompson goes, won't we always imagine him in a Golden State uniform? Like, think about how many people purchased that jersey. One of probably the most high-selling uniforms back when the Warriors were a dynasty. But we see this all the time with super teams. Teams that make a great run, but eventually the players get older and the contracts get too high to keep those players around. So this is just kind of the name of the game. It's sad to see, but I feel like we've seen this one coming for a while. And especially with sad like this past year, Klay Thompson didn't even start in some of these games. So hopefully he finds a spot where maybe he can be more of an impact player.
Yeah, and it's sort of appropriate. Not that I wish this on him, but his last game with the Warriors, I believe he had 0 points on like 0 of 10 shooting. Just a nothing burger, which sort of speaks to the fact that this relationship has come to an end. Poor Klay missed 2 full seasons with a torn ACL, torn Achilles, but he can still be a plus player. The question is, will someone like maybe the Lakers sign him? Because LeBron James is saying he is willing to take a pay cut. He has opted out of his final year with the Lakers. Would have paid him a little more than $51 million. Imagine having the kind of power to say, I'm going to opt out of this $51 million deal. But LeBron, according to his agent, Rich Paul, who is in every article ever regarding the James family, says LeBron is willing to sign a deal below the max of 3 years and $169 million he could fetch if they can add someone to the roster like maybe a Paul George. If not, LeBron wants the max. The question is, will they add anyone significant? I don't know.
Well, it feels like we have to ask LeBron James himself, because doesn't he feel like the GM there? But yes, nice spin move here by Rich Paul saying, oh, LeBron's so selfless. He's willing to take a pay cut in order to win another ring. And then it says, well, maybe not. If the situation is right, but if not, he wants the full-time deal. But at this stage for LeBron James, it's all about his legacy. Like, he's made a ton of money. So I believe it. If there is somebody out there that the Lakers could get, I understand why LeBron James is doing this.